If I want to scare an audience about an elevator shaft through an entire movie, I have no problem at all with putting a little old lady at the bottom of that shaft and having that car come down on her just like that. Great.
Turn on a light. Hold someone's hand. We are going to have you imagine your worst fears, your worst nightmares. And then we will have you meet those who can make them come true. Welcome to Stephen King's World of Horror. Why are these people standing in line? Very simply, they want terror. Knowing what scares these innocent people has become big business in the last decade, and it stems from a national willingness to be scared senseless. At the root of this phenomena is the popularity of the horror novel, and no one is more popular than Stephen King. Recently, at one point, for the first time in history, the New York Times bestseller list had 5 of the top slots filled with titles by this one man.
There are people that you don't like. There are people that have treated you badly. There are people who've been involved in lawsuits. There are guys who are divorced from their wives, who feel very badly about however that it was that fell apart. There are wives divorced from their husbands who really hate those people. We don't have any way to deal with that really outside of things like books, movies, some way to exercise things like hate and fear and depression, aggression, sadism, masochism. None of them are very pleasant. You can't go out in polite society and push people down in the street. If you do it enough, they put you in jail. It's very difficult for any of us to believe that we're going to croak, that we're just going to fall over and then we're going to be dead forever. There's a story, an EC comic book story, where there's a guy and his wife who decide that they're going to kill each other. And he's real fat and she's real skinny. And so he catches her and he's got an air compressor and he says, "Try this, Mabel." And he stuffs the hose down her throat and turns it on and she blows up until finally she explodes and guts go everywhere. And then as he's walking down the stairs, she set up a weight over the stairs and it comes down and it squashes him to a shadow. So it's a little irony. It's good for your blood. That's the gross out.
But what draws King himself to horror? Was there something in his childhood that affected him?
I'm warped. I am. You don't do this sort of thing if you're all right. But there wasn't anything in my childhood except I did kill a few people, but they never found the bodies, so I think I'm all right.
Legion! Oh, my God!
In one of his stories, King recreates his adolescent world. The story is called The Body, recently made into the movie Stand By Me. Just how much is fiction and how much is truth is a secret that King will take to his grave.
John! Hey, Cordy, man, there's someone on your back. Get him up! Get him up! Get him up! They're on your back! Are they on mine, man?
I don't know if you can get in on this or not. You see that? That's one of those leeches. You probably can't read that at all on your camera, but that's the first one that I saw, and I went a little bit crazy when I saw it and just raked it off with my nail and left a long gouge. And that's the only scar that I have, except for one that I discovered on the way home, and that's in a place where I'm not going to show you, and people who go see the movie will understand why.
You could be a real writer someday, Gordy. I don't want to be a writer. It's stupid. It's a stupid waste of time. That's your dad talking. Both full true. I know how your dad feels about you. He doesn't give a about you. Danny was the one he cared about. And don't try to tell me different. You're just a kid, Gordy. Oh, gee, thanks, Dad. Wish the hell I was your dad. You wouldn't be going around talking about taking these stupid shop courses if I was. It's like God gave you something, man. All those stories that you can make up. And he said, this is what we got for you, kid. Try not to lose it. Kids lose everything unless there's someone there to look out for them.
When I was a kid, 12, 13, 14, and just starting out on this, a lot of what I wrote took place in space. It took place in Texas. It took place anywhere but where I was, because where I was boring. In my imagination, every time I wrote a story, I was running away from home, which is probably why I never did run away from home.
For every king's story, there is an underlying form of fear. The fear may be emotional, psychological, physical, or unreal. For example, the stories Christine and Maximum Overdrive both reflect King's preposterous fear of machines, such as cars, coming to life and killing people.
All right, nobody believes in the vampires, really. Nobody believes in the car that runs by itself. So, okay, nobody believes in a car that runs by itself. That's a ridiculous idea. On the other hand, if we turn around, we can say we have an entire societal machine in terms of our technology that's running by itself. It's out of control, and nobody seems to know how to stop it. It's spewing out weapons, substandard cars, razors that don't work after the third time that you plug it in, jetliners that drop their motors. So who is kidding who? It's like dreaming away.
But what really scares King?
There's a lot of creepy things out there in life. The idea that we're sitting worldwide on enough nuclear weapons to create a new asteroid belt between Mars and Venus is enough to scare the hell out of me.
In a book of essays called Kingdom of Fear, King reveals 10 major fears that govern his reign of terror. Fear of the dark, fear of squishy things, fear of deformity, fear of snakes, rats, closed-in places, insects such as spiders, fear of death, fear of others or paranoia, and fear for someone else. Which one is your worst nightmare? Think a moment. What is your worst fear? Your worst nightmare? If Stephen King told you his, would you dare reveal your own?
The worst thing I can think of is going in to check one of my kids and finding one of them dead. You know, that's the worst thing I can think of.
In a moment, we'll return with a chilling story from King's personal experience. The story is The Woman in the Room, from the book Night Shift. And our scenes are from the film adaptation written and directed by Frank Darabont.
A lot of times, what seems like autobiography is just the writer's attempt to understand what an experience meant. You know, when I said earlier that I had written The Shining to try and understand these aggressive impulses that Father Knows Best had never prepared me for, the same thing is true about the death of my mother. You know, to write that story was an effort to understand what that meant. And you just happen to make a story out of it.
John is a bright young attorney destined to commit the perfect murder. He is about to learn from a convicted criminal that the murder will be perfect in every way, for it's the secret desire of the woman in the room.
Want me to leave the cup, Sonny?
Turn him loose.
All right. Counselor, good of you to come.
Sorry I'm late.
That's okay. I ain't going nowhere.
Care to join me? My mother. Dying.
Of what?
Cancer.
Oh, what are they doing for her?
Well, not a hell of a lot, you ask me. They gave her a cordotomy yesterday.
Cordotomy? Yeah, I know about those. It's supposed to take away the pain.
How'd you know that?
Yeah, a buddy of mine got both his legs blown by a booby trap. The problem was, he was lying in a puddle of mud for about an hour before we could get to him. So by the time I pulled him into a chopper, why, and maggots crawling under his skin. Gangrene started killing him. Slowly. And the pain was just too much, so they gave him a cordotomy. Stuck a needle in his brain and just short-circuited his pain. Short-circuited just about everything else with it.
That's what they did to my mother.
Too bad.
She can't walk anymore. She says she still has pain.
Never go through that again. Not worth it.
What happened?
Killed a friend of mine.
I don't understand.
Well, he got his legs blown away.
You killed him?
And I wasn't about to let him die of gangrene like that. After what the doctors did to him. Lying there, gaping his mouth open and shut like some kind of fish they dragged out of the water. Hell, he saved my life once. I owed him. What's the matter, counselor? You don't look so good.
You're good to come as often as you do, John. You're a good son.
Brought you some pills from home.
Did you?
They're good for pain.
Are they? Can I chew them?
You could try one.
All right. Don't let them see.
Here you go. Does it taste bad? I won't.
No, not too bad.
Want another one?
Yes. Please.
My mother did die of cancer, and she died very painfully, and it was a very long, drawn-out death, the sort of death that only modern medicine can provide. With enough cures and enough keep them on their feet to, be the equivalent of the rack and the boot. It's the modern day Inquisition is an attended death after all the obituary says is a long illness, but that doesn't say anything about the limbo of suffering that goes on during that illness under certain circumstances. But that's what I say when I mean it's not fair to trust anything that a writer says about himself, because that story ends with this guy pouring pills down his mother's throat to kill her, which is something that I never did. I wish, in retrospect, in some ways, that I had done that, because I think it would have spared her a lot of suffering. Even in the worst horror novels ever written, there's no zipper running down the monster's back. Whereas in some of the American International pictures from the 50s, you can see that zipper.
They cut the power.
How could they cut the power, man? They're animals. There's movement all over the place.
Those responsible for making horror movies form a kind of inner circle of the world of horror. They are much more sophisticated than their film predecessors. They use nearly every science known to mankind in their everyday work, and they succeed in bringing the most unspeakable horrors vividly to life. Take, for instance, the team that created Aliens.
As a filmmaker, I can get strong emotional reactions from people, and that can range from fear to exhilaration to joy, terror. That's what it boils down to. And fear is a very strong reaction. It makes people realize that they're alive, that they're sitting out there in the audience, and they're not just zombies. Their heart's starting to beat faster. So we have to do everything humanly possible with all the art and craft we can bring to it to make that place seem real.
You don't want to short sell the fans. At best, what you'd like to do is give them back what they saw, add a little something special to each of the things that they have seen, and then give them a kicker on top of that. It's good entertainment. Audiences want to see on film what they can't see in real life. And sometimes not only what they can't see in real life, but what they don't want to see in real life. Over 10 facehuggers were needed to do different things to give you the feeling that these particular facehuggers were attacking, leaping, jumping, scurrying, running across the floor, wrapping the tail around Ripley's neck, trying to get at her, fingers clenching and grabbing out. Each particular shot required a different facehugger to do what was necessary.
Meanwhile, for Poltergeist, the sequel called for the creation of a new beast.
Over the course of seeing a lot of effects pictures in the last few years, it's becoming increasingly difficult to trick the audience, which is basically what we do. So we're magicians in sort of the Houdini sense to create the beast and discover what it was going to look like. Brian brought in Mr. Giger, H.R. Giger, who designed the alien in The Alien. Giger is a really disturbing artist. I mean, his Necronomicon is it's really an awful book, but on the other hand, it's elegant. The guy is really a talented artist and has, although I wouldn't want to have one of his paintings in my living room,
It's a horror movie. No, it's a ghost horror movie, and I have to scare people. I hope, yes.
Giger executes his drawings in his home in Switzerland. He happened to bring to Poltergeist his own worst nightmare.
Thing scares me like a worm really under my skin, or something in my body, another beast in my body. It scares me really myself. It's disgusting.
As far as interpreting the stuff and bringing it into 3 dimensions,
it's really tough because, as you can see in any of these paintings, Giger works fairly loosely. One of the most interesting things we're doing with this stuff is we're going for a real translucent look in the stuff, kind of like the fetal shots you see of babies like this, so you can really see through it. It'll help it look different than Giger's stuff that he designed for Alien, because all that stuff is real darkly lit. This stuff will really glow, and you'll be able to see the inner workings with it.
The guys in what we call the rubber department or the creature shop, I mean, they come out of the woodwork. I don't know where they would be if they weren't working here. I mean, their talents are so strange that if they didn't have this kind of thing to do, they'd probably be working in a gas station somewhere, because where else could they put their talents to use but in some strange motion picture?
Why the hell won't you leave us alone?
Those weird hairs that were growing out of your back, I had them analyzed. But they were definitely not human. No!
You're afraid to be destroyed or recreated, aren't you?
You're changing, Seth. Everything about you is changing.
Oh, no. What's happening to me? Am I dying?
Okay, stand by, ready, and fire.
In The Fly, the transformation of the hero became an exercise in terror for director David Cronenberg, himself a Stephen King alumnus.
I've done films that are primarily action, like Scanners, and I've done films that are primarily character, like The Dead Zone. And I've done films that are very much, go very quite deeply into special effects that have never been done before, like Videodrome. And I think in The Fly, all of these things are combined.
Action. Left leg.
We're taking a main character and bringing him from a very, very human form all the way through subtle skin color changes to sores and creating, finally, him in his stage that's just horribly degenerated, and then past that to another stage, which is an entirely new being.
It does finally get claustrophobic. You could kind of freak out. I mean, you're covered in this thing, and it's exhausting too. Not only you're in this thing and it's kind of very hot, but in part of the makeup, my whole there's kind of this weight on my eyes all the time, and to kind of see, I have to keep doing that, so it's very, very exhausting.
Seth?
Oh, up here.
Oh.
Got pretty good at it, haven't I? Yeah, it's almost second nature.
There really is only one respectable way to do that, and that is to build a set that actually revolves. As he's walking, the ceiling becomes the floor, and the camera ultimately ends up upside down with the cameraman, and we have our actor on what looks like the ceiling, but in fact is the floor. At this point, the Fly is very messy, and he likes to eat things that are sugary and sweet, and so we have donuts and decaying rolls and all kinds of stuff all over the place, and all of these have to be nailed and bolted and glued down so that when the set turns upside down, everything just doesn't fall and reveal what's going on. So it's actually very, very tricky to do.
Seth? I'm here.
Stop.
Seth.
You were right. I'm diseased, and it might be contagious somehow. I wouldn't want to infect you. And it's been accelerating. It's unrelenting every day there. It changes. Every time I look in the mirror, it's someone different, someone hideous, repulsive.
What happened?
A fly got into the transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone. The computer got confused. There weren't supposed to be two separate genetic patterns, and it decided to splice us together. It made it as me and the fly. My teleporter turned her into a jeans splicer. A very good one, and now I'm not so friendly anymore. I'm the offspring of Brundle and Housefly. I'm scared. Help me. Please. Please help me.
Tom Savini is known by the company he keeps. His work is instantly recognizable in such films as Creepshow, Day of the Dead, Friday the 13th, and this music video for Twisted Sister.
Just like a sister or brother, be true to your soul. In the name of rock and roll, be true to your soul. Cause you may never get another. Be true to your soul. In the name of rock and roll, be true to your soul. Just like a sister or a brother, be true to your soul. In the name of rock and roll. All right.
What are you listening to?
Twisted Sister! I got a little clap.
Savini's profession is film makeup and special effects. His specialty is blood and gore and monsters.
Sometimes I feel like an assassin. People call me. I load up my car with all my goodies and my little toolbox and things, and I go some strange state and I kill people. My first inspiration as far as doing makeup was Lon Chaney Sr., the silent screen star, makeup artist, stuntman, actor, you know. Whenever Chaney opened up his makeup box, the Phantom of the Opera, the Hunchback, I started reading about what has been called the myth of Lon Chaney, that he would suffer so much for his art, you know, with harnesses that would strap him down for the Hunchback. And physically, he would like really be hanging from those gargoyles. It changed my life. And it was like after the Army, it became a career move, a thing to do for a living, you know, which I never thought was possible. I wanted him to be ugly, you know. In my mind, Jason had to look like a 38-year-old version of the kid, you know, from part one. But it involved doing a whole sculpture of a whole head and then breaking it down into individual appliances to be stuck on to the actor. And I had never done anything like that, but Dick Smith had. Dick Smith, by the way, is the master, the greatest makeup artist in the world. Finally won an Academy Award that he's deserved for 40 years, you know. Dick Smith, when he invents a technique, he'll write it down, then he'll type it up, then he'll mimeograph and send it off to us, you know, if we ask, you know. He shares, you know, the secrets. If it wasn't for him, the state of the art would not be where it is today. Weapons are easy. This is one of them. Just, looks like I hope it looks like I'm cutting my neck here. See? It's just cutting out the whole. You know, one approach would be, let's get a fake head, take a knife and cut its throat. Well, my idea is to use as much of the real actor in the effect as possible, because the real actor can, you know, make faces, make his eyes move. Fake head just sits there. Then we just pump blood that would come streaming over the weapon, which looked like it was coming out of the person. The reason these are varying lengths is because we start with the long one, cut away to something, cut back, and this one's in there. So in your mind, you know, we've gone in further. However, there are, you know, things I personally want to do, and that is
do the creatures and the monsters and the fantasy things. In Day of the Dead, I had 6 guys working for me. 3 months before we started shooting, we did elaborate zombie. We just were making generic zombie appliances, small, medium, and large.
When you're putting it on, it's kind of like you have 20 people you have to do, okay, and you have so much time to do them. So it's like they stick the brush in the glue, and they go, and they put the appliance on. I mean, it's fast. At the end of the day, getting the glue off, it's like, it's very, very painful. I even had one girl pass out on me when I was taking it off.
Perhaps I'm relying on the fact that the kids, quote unquote, know that this stuff, isn't real. What do we have here? Here's a latex lower intestine here. There's chunks of flesh. Now, chunks of flesh was something that we would just whip together, and whenever we needed it, we would stick it in something so that when a piece of a person came off or a head was torn off, Sitting with Stephen King is like sitting with a 13-year-old kid, and you're talking about monsters and, and Twilight Zone and things like that. And he's a multimillionaire, but it's like dirty T-shirts, purple boots,
You're just seeing your father, who's been dead for 7 years.
The story is about a farmer who sees a meteor land on his property and thinks that he can get money for it, and throws a bucket of cold water on the steaming meteor so that it breaks in two, and it has a kind of a super seed-like fluid inside. The stuff grows on everything, and Jordy touches it and begins to grow on him, and in his yard, and on his junked-out cars, and in his house, and all over him.
Okay, roll.
Rolling.
Scene 517, take 1, camera roll 309. Action.
Oh my God! What a... This show is a prime example of getting an assistant to do something that I don't want to do, would never do, can't do, afraid to do. It was the cockroaches. We had 28,000 cockroaches in Creepshow. Before the scene when the bugs crawl out of E.G. Marshall, there's these 2 guys underneath the set filling these large syringes with cockroaches.
Thanks to Tom, he built that bust, and it was a really good-looking bust, and we were able to literally force-feed the roaches through the thing.
The bugs are falling down on them, and they're being covered. They're stuffing roaches back in there.
There's just no way, when you're working with insects like that, to carefully plan a series of shots that relies on the insects behaving in any given way. Them roaches just don't take direction.
There were 2 entomologists, actually, also there, who collected the bugs in Trinidad and brought them back and had a vein where they would breed, 8,000 more than they collected. It's called the Roach Motel. This was the fastest full-scale creature, I've ever done or had to do. Plus, I directed the episode. I don't know, I just started sculpting a kid. I made her bow-legged because, I was bow-legged when I was a kid, I still am. I sculpted her in 2 weeks. I knew I wanted her to have long nails and have bony little fingers, and skull-like head with prominent bones, and these are albino eyes from a taxidermist supply place, and teeth. I wanted teeth to be jagged so it looked like she could bite you and be really nasty to you. I knew she had to be short to fit into the closet, and I wanted her to be ugly, but not supernatural. So every time you see Lizzie in that Tales from the Dark Side episode, Inside the Closet, there's always 6 guys somewhere. Like you see her on Fritz Weaver's leg, there's 6 guys down there making her arms move. Someday computers are going to do all this stuff, if they don't do everything. We talked about nightmares and the nightmares that I have, my insecurity dreams, the nightmares I give, the people come and tell me about. We talked of how I feel like I'm an assassin sometimes, I load up my car, I go places and kill people. All the people that I killed in movies, the little monsters and things I created. Well, they're here. Some of those people that I've killed are up in my attic, you know. Their bodies, their foam, latex, and fiberglass bodies, and the creatures that I've done are all around me, you know. Now, what would happen if I'm lying in bed some night and all these people that I've killed off decide to come back and take their revenge? Are you wondering what might happen in that case? Well, I'll be ready for them.
In the Middle Ages, people believed the poverty and despair of the times could only be the work of the devil. Belief in witchcraft and the supernatural soared, and ever since, experts agree there have been definite cycles in the popularity of horror. In our century, the cycle reaches new heights every 20 years or so, often in response to a major historical crisis. During the Great Depression of the 1930s, the disillusioned public was no longer entertained by the false glamour of the movie extravaganzas. They flocked instead to see creature features. As the American economy became healthy again, the creature features degenerated into self-parody, and interest in horror decreased dramatically. But in the 1950s, there was a resurgence of horror in response to the atomic bomb. New words crept into our vocabulary: radiation, atomic particles, nuclear fission, mutants.
Now look down there and tell me what you see. Look, go ahead.
Ledge.
The ledge.
Look, what is all this about?
The wager I'm proposing is very simple. You walk all the way around, scab be removed from the car, you get the money, and you get my wife.
You're crazy.
That's the bet, Mr. Norris. Good. Good. Well begun is half done. I just want to keep you on your toes.
But today, there is a new trend in horror, and in a sense, it completes the cycle. If the origins of horror were mankind's attempt to consolidate his fears into some external monstrosity, contemporary horror writers are saying that our fears and the real monsters in our world come from within. And the most important question becomes, what is the true nature of evil?
The real evil seems to me to be something that you can never quite get a hold of and touch. It squirts through your hands like mercury. A guy like this John Wayne Gacy. I mean, this guy killed dozens of kids, maybe hundreds of kids, and buried them. He tortured them, and yet you look at the man, you see pictures of him in his jail cell or when he was in the infirmary, and you see a fat man with jowls who's losing his hair. He looks like a retired baker. There was a devil inside him, some sort of a devil, but it's gone. whatever it is left, and there's a broken connection that makes it very difficult for us to visualize that man in the basement of his house, cutting throats, literally disemboweling small children. We can imagine the act, God help us, but we can't see his face. We can't see his hands, We understand an Eichmann intellectually. And again, we're talking about evil. We're talking about an essentially repetitive act. We're talking about assembly line death. We're talking about German soldiers who fell asleep on their posts at the crematoriums because it was the same thing day in and day out. And it wasn't 18-hour shifts. It wasn't 16-hour shifts. It was 20-hour shifts. 20 hours on, 4 hours off. And all there was to do is the same old thing. Dump the bodies in, rake the bones out. So you look at this man, and whatever the evil was, whatever the devil was that was inside that man, before the Israelis killed him, what there was left was this retired bureaucrat who's looking around at people and saying, I didn't do anything. I filled in numbers in a ledger. Leave me alone. And finally, when they killed him, God help us all, you wondered why they even bothered, because whatever it was that killed all the Jews was gone. It wasn't in him anymore.
What about the times when you come back to your car in the shopping mall and the guy next to it has done a number on it and driven away? You'd like to get that guy and see if his head could do a 360, You'd like to turn it around so he could get a look at his own backbone without using a mirror. You know what I mean? But you can't do that. Society says no.
The night is never far away in the world of Stephen King, the world of traditional monsters and myths. The modern-day world of suspense and terror. And the world of dark and devious fantasy. King knows it is not a new world. We have lived in it since childhood.
If you're going to do this stuff, if you're going to deal with fantasy and with make-believe, you've got to bring out the kid that's inside, even grown-ups. What a lot of this is about is being able to recapture a sense of innocence, a sense of wonder. For me, the horror has always been secondary to that sense of wonder.
But horror does take over, even in the fantasy world of The Running Man, where futuristic gladiators perform for a prime-time audience gone mad, a society possessed by an irresistible form of evil.
Essentially, evil is a closing off of possibilities. It's saying, these are the things that you can do. And in response for this, the old Faustian thing is, I'll give you an additional 7 years of life, or I'll give you beautiful women, or I'll give you a lot of money. I'll give you your own TV show. But it closes off a wider range of experience, and it always turns inward. There's something like a neon sign. It's very pretty to look at night, and you realize that it's repeating the same pattern over and over and over again. And it says, you're the most important thing, and therefore what happens to other people becomes less important, and you become more and more sociopathic. They have this tendency to start to feel that everybody else is sort of actors in this play that's being put on for their enjoyment. There are times when, like, you get in a fender-bender accident, when you're looking at the guy and you could kill him. There are people that you don't like. There are people that have treated you badly. There are people who've been involved in lawsuits. There are guys who are divorced from their wives, who feel very badly about however that it was that fell apart. There are wives divorced from their husbands who really hate those people. We don't have any way to, to deal with that really outside of things like books, movies, some way to exercise things like hate and fear and depression, aggression, sadism, masochism. None of them are very pleasant. You can't go out in polite society and push people down in the street. If you do it enough, they put you in jail.
King's World is part of a tradition of horror. Return to Salem's Lot is based on characters created by King in Salem's Lot, which in turn was a modern retelling of the vampire story. Each story carried forward the common element of fear, an emotion anyone can relate to.
Vampires!
All movies are dreams. So these are just nightmares. If you haven't got good enough nightmares of your own, we supply you with ours.
How do people come to believe in the unbelievable? I mean, we do, and these supernatural things are always analogs for real things that we face in our own lives. For instance, it's very difficult for any of us to believe that we're going to croak, that we're just going to fall over and then we're going to be dead forever. But we have to come to a belief in that unbelievable thing, or else we can't, live our lives with any sort of a goal, with an idea that these things have an ending and that we won't always be doing tomorrow what we did today.
If horror has an ultimate purpose in our lives, where does the attraction begin? What physically motivates us to go into a theater? And what motivates an author to sit and write horror, one story after another? The only way to find out is to take a little journey in our world of horror. Pay a visit with the masters of terror, like filmmakers John Carpenter and Alfred Hitchcock. Take a look at how horror has been promoted to us, and if we have the strength for it, take a look at the faces of evil and the faces of fear created for our enjoyment. Who does Stephen King turn to when he wants to read horror? Among his favorite authors is Clive Barker, who enjoys a wide following in Great Britain and who recently wrote and directed the film Hellraiser.
Horror fiction for me is about visions overthrowing the normal, and preferably never allowing the normal to be normal again.
Please. I'll do anything you want.
It's about a man who does a deal with forces of darkness in pursuit of the ultimate experience, the ultimate physical, sensual experience, and gets torn apart for his troubles. To the house that his spirit occupies comes his brother and his sister-in-law. Previous to this, we learn in flashbacks the sister-in-law and the dead man have had a major relationship. It was short, but it was intense. So when she discovers that Spirit is upstairs and still half alive, and she realizes furthermore that she can get the guy back by feeding him blood. She is motivated, strongly motivated, to go out to singles bars, pick up sleazeballs, and kill them, which is what she does. And the more steeped in blood she gets, the prettier she gets. She gets to look really glamorous. Blood does her good. Unfortunately, when she begins to get her lover back, which she does from bone by bone, nerve by nerve, she also gets back the demons that claimed him in the first place. What happens in my fiction is the characters do things for reasons, usually reasons of appetite of some kind or other. Though they may look strange, though their bodies may be inhuman, abhuman, subhuman, their motivation is something we can most of us relate to in some way or other. There's this nice family unit, there's a status quo, there's a family dog, there's whatever the hell else there is, and suddenly something comes in from the big dark outside and threatens the family unit, steals the child, eats the dog, burns down the house, occupies the reality that is dominant up to that point. I am rather on the side of those forces. I've always felt, if the choice is between siding with the thing from the dark, even though it has a few bad habits, and the well-behaved normals who will trudge through their 70 years and 10 and never look above or below them, then I'm with the thing from the dark every time.
Man of my dreams. He's real, isn't he? He's real.
Although the success of some horror is based on a name-brand author or a name-brand filmmaker, there's no question that the success of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies is based on a single character, not a hero, but Freddy. A repulsive but charismatic villain with the power to pop up anywhere.
I think that the nightmare phenomenon really is the Freddy phenomenon.
If Freddy came along, and he's definitely a personality. He definitely has a point of view and something to say.
Welcome home, Karen. Look familiar.
Okay. Let's dance.
I think that the Freddy phenomenon is I think that has to be attributed to a large extent to the actor who plays the role, Robert Englund, who brings to the role a really major dimension. He's a very, very good actor, and most of the screen monsters are just these kind of hulking mummy types that go around like that and don't have any personality. And the thing about Freddy is he's such a wonderful villain because he loves to be bad.
Let's get high.
No one is more surprised at the success of the Freddy phenomenon as I am. I'm amazed at the different kinds of people, especially since Part 2, that the film attracts.
During the filming of Nightmare 3, there were some people who wandered onto the set dressed as grips. What they were there for, they were fans, and they were there to steal Freddy's glove. It seemed like a very elaborate thing to go through, just to get, Freddy's glove, but obviously he does have quite a following.
You've got the body. I've got the brain.
He's so gleefully evil and perverse and almost fun to watch, I guess.
I think that glee is kind of contagious.
What's wrong, Joey? Feeling tongue-tied?
When people found them to be really some of the most frightening films that they've ever seen, just because it's connected to dreams.
This is just a dream. This isn't real. This is just a dream. He isn't real. He isn't
My idea about the audience is that you want to take them and say, hey, I'm your friend. Now come around the corner because I want to show you something and I think you'll really like it. And you get them around the corner in the dark where they can't get away, and then you do a number on them. That's all. But they like it. Mostly. They come back.
As far as marketing, all they really have to do, as far as I'm concerned, is put an ad in the paper and run a trailer on TV, and I'll be there. I'll go.
Trailers are great. I mean, I love 50s trailers. Because, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, you ever seen the trailer on that? It's great. I mean, they're great stuff. They're great stuff. They're an intensification very often of what's in the picture, and it has to be said, very often all the best bits of the picture get put in the trailer.
Once a normal, voluptuously beautiful woman, she drove into a nightmare of horror and saw descending from the sky a titanic monster whose fearsome touch became a frightful curse. What she saw was beyond belief until others, too, faced its hideous, uncontrollable menace. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, incredibly huge, with incredible desires for love and vengeance.
It's a 2-for-1 monster bazaar.
Below a certain level of excellence, a film needs to offer a little extra something to attract viewers to the box office. In this area of promotion, horror films have always been ingenious.
It's the curse of the mummy's tomb and the Gorgon. He said the Gorgon, both in petrifying color, you know. They will frighten you. Yeah.
How can you protect yourself from the forces of evil? Now, disguise yourself from the menace of Rasputin, the mad mother.
You will apologize for laughing at me.
It was traditional for horror films to come bearing gifts for the audience, whether in the form of plastic coins, magic seeds, insurance policies, or even this preposterous souvenir.
Your only hope is to get your free Rasputin beard as you enter the theater to see Rasputin, the mad monster.
Audience participation was a concept pioneered by horror filmmakers. Here, a fright break was promised to viewers of Homicidal.
For the first time in screen history, a special interval will be provided during the running of this picture for refunding your admission. If you're unable to stand the almost unbearable suspense, the almost paralyzing shock of Homicidal.
The producer, William Castle, had other tricks up his sleeve, always announced in his previews.
For years, I have searched for a unique way whereby a motion picture audience can actually decide the climax of a picture. I have found such a way. My latest picture, Mr. Sardonicus, offers something no audience has ever had before: the power to determine the fate of a character on the screen. The power to punish.
Mr. Sardonicus. His deeds form the fabric of nightmares.
When you come to see Mr. Sardonicus, you will receive a ballad like this. At a certain point in the picture, you will vote thumbs up or thumbs down. His punishment will depend on the result of your vote.
Ironically, the audience always voted thumbs down. But then William Castle never did produce a thumbs-up version of the ending. He knew it would never be demanded. As if to punish the audience for their thirst for blood, Castle created the Tingler and announced his most famous movie gimmick. It involved the most direct form of audience participation imaginable and required $100,000 insurance on each audience member. Very simply, seats in the theater were wired, and at key points in the film, viewers got mild electric shocks. Today's previews carry on the tradition, especially at the low end of production. Troma Films, a leader of Grade Z movies, are instantly recognized through their previews. Their fans want horror, and we ask why.
It's part of life. It is life. Life is horrible. You get born, they beat you in the behind, they put you in a cold scale, then people die all around you. You wonder whether you're going to have enough food. The tax man comes, the rent is due. Life is horrible. I mean, right? I mean, there are a lot of nice things, too, but generally it's pretty scary.
Meet little Melvin. He's a 90-pound weakling. Everyone hated Melvin.
I'm gonna take this mop and shove it down your throat.
They teased him.
I wanna do it with you. Okay.
They taunted him. They tormented him until he had a horrifying accident and fell into a vat of nuclear waste. Transforming little Melvin into a hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength. Melvin became the Toxic Avenger. The first superhero born out of nuclear waste.
In terms of subject matter, we get a lot of it out of the newspapers. The environmental problem was Toxic Avenger. The class of Nukem High dealt with the nuclear power plant.
Welcome to Tromaville High, an average American high school, with one exception. It's located only 1 mile away from a nuclear power plant. They said it was 100% safe. But they were wrong.
There's no danger, Governor. We have the situation well in hand.
Welcome to the class of Nukem High. Yes, at Nukem High, strange things are happening. The Honor Society has changed from a group of clean-cut preppies into a vicious gang of cretins.
We're the youth of today.
The class of Nukem High, where you'll learn the 3 R's. Reading, writing, and radiation. See the most explosive action of the year.
We have a certain vision of life. We're interested in small-town America, typical American life. And our movies reflect our view of the American life as we see it.
The most mysterious, inexplicable, and incredible events often take place in the most ordinary places. Usually, these seemingly unexplainable occurrences are eventually explained, but every so often, they remain mysteriously incredible. Monster in the closet.
We ain't talking about no snake here.
President declares national emergency.
Yes, it was something so hideous, so gruesome, so frightful, that it could only dwell in one place. Monster in the closet. It's coming out.
We do have one foot in fairly interesting themes, so that there's a little bit to chew on when you see a Troma movie. At least I believe so.
Sometime in the near future, a major earthquake will lay waste to the entire California coastline. From out of the rubble will rise a menace far more terrifying than the death and destruction. Surf Nazis. Welcome to California, where the beaches have become battlefields and the waves are a war zone. Only one person can ensure that surf Nazis must die. She's tough.
I want to buy a gun. Hey, summer mama, home cooking.
See the film that is creating a tidal wave of action all over the world. See Surf Nazis Must Die.
We don't think in terms of the future, in all honesty. I believe we will continue to create the kind of films we've been making, works of beauty and sentimentality. We will continue to do whatever it is we do.
Stephen King wrote a book called Dance Macabre, in which he talked about horror films. And he said something that I really kind of subscribe to. Any horror movie, no matter how stupid it really appears, is really telling you something. It may be unintentional on the part of the filmmakers, but the basic generic horror setup is really a morality play. It always is, and it always comes down to that. And you can watch it and come away with something, even though it was an unintentional message. I think that's what fascinates me about horror. You know, what is it really about? It's about good and evil, one way or the other. There's a definition of horror, let's say. One is left-wing and one is right-wing. Liberal left-wing horror really is, the evil is within us. You know, it's in our hearts. We are the evil. Right-wing horror is, they're out there to get us. And both work. Both of those approaches work, and it seems to me that depending on how you apply that kind of two approaches to horror, you're really kind of examining people and situations.
The faces of evil are all around us today, and along with them are the faces of fear. In John Carpenter's new film, Prince of Darkness, fear and evil are present on holy ground. In Jack Shoulder's new film, The Hidden, evil is an alien monster transferred from body to body, transforming normal citizens and even a household pet into earthly terrors. In RoboCop, the monster is a machine gone amok, a theme very specific to modern man.
Fellow executives, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the future of law enforcement. Ed 209.
We'll need an arrest subject.
Mr. Kinney. Yes, sir. Would you come up and give us a hand, please? Yes, sir. Mr. Kinney is going to help us simulate a typical arrest and disarming procedure. Mr. Kinney, use your gun in a threatening manner. Point it at Ed 209.
Yes, sir.
Please put down your weapon. You have 20 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kinney.
have 15 seconds to comply. You are in direct violation of Penal Code 113, Section 9. You now have 5 seconds to comply. 4, 3, 2, 1. I am now authorizing physical force.
Somebody want to call a paramedic?
Dick, I'm very disappointed.
Sure, it's only a glitch.
And in The Stepfather, the monster is in the home. A stepfather who is actually a psychopath.
Sure.
That's my girl.
Oh, my sweet. Oh, that's my little girl. That's my good girl. Yeah, she's right up there. She's good. She's a good little girl.
All we need is a little order around here. Order!
You're a good boy. He's a good boy. Isn't he a good boy? Your daddy's little angel.
No, I don't say. Just leave me alone.
Let me out. Let me out.
We are going to keep this family together.
You had better believe it.
Hi, honey.
Horror movies have been accused of everything, including pushing people to commit murder. But this is a welcome marketing opportunity for horror filmmakers. Consider this statement by Dr. William Bryan.
In 1960, I was consulted regarding a tragic case of a triple murderer who strangled his victims immediately after viewing the movie Psycho. His fascinating analysis under hypnosis, now a matter of record in my book, came to the attention of the producers of Dementia 13, who asked me to devise a method of preventing a recurrence of this tragedy.
You will now take the test prepared by Dr. Bryan to determine your ability to withstand shock. One wrong answer could mean you are a threat to your community. Have you ever spoken aloud to yourself in a mirror? Were you ever involved in what passed for an accident but which you purposely caused? Did you ever do anything seriously wrong for which you felt absolutely no guilt? True or false? Death by drowning in a pond is best described as exciting. True or false? The most effective way of settling a dispute is with one quick stroke of the axe to your adversary's head.
I think we've all faced this at one time or another. There were supposedly copycat murders after Psycho. My view about this sort of thing when it happens is that the people who did it should not only be put in jail for having committed crimes, but should be sued for plagiarism. The fact is, a crazy person is going to do crazy things, and it may be that he'll get the idea to do those crazy things from a film like Taxi Driver or Carrie or Salem's Lot or Christine or some other thing. But I don't believe that either a creative artist or a society of people who appreciate art can be penalized for the few crazy people that are riding along the fringes of the herd.
If Psycho pushed someone to murder, the unindicted co-conspirator was Alfred Hitchcock. He was not only a master of terror, but also a master at drawing large crowds.
I've suggested that Psycho be seen from the beginning. In fact, this is more than a suggestion. It is required.
This requirement created captive audiences to Hitchcock's tape-recorded messages through loudspeakers before each show.
I insist that you do not tell your friends the little, tiny, horrifying secrets of Psycho after you see it.
The plan worked, but Hitchcock's effort had actually started.
Welsh used to have these people that they call sin eaters. You know, they go around when some guy was dying, and like they'd have these great big meals. Most of the sin eaters were real fat, and they gobble it all up, and symbolically they were supposed to be gobbling the sins of this person that was dying. And then, of course, when the sin eater died, he'd have to deal with all that before the throne of God. But supposedly the guy whose sins he was eating would be pure when he died. And we're a little bit like that. You make horror movies or you write horror novels, and people always ask you what happened to you when you were a kid, like you did. But in the end, I think what you're doing, in a way, is taking on a great weight of the emotions that people are generally not allowed to express in polite cafe society.
Give you a lift?